This is Secrets to Win Big, your roadmap to sustained growth. Brought to you by Arjun Sen, founder and CEO of Zen Mango, top brand growth driver, and a former Fortune 500 executive who has been called one of the most marketing intelligent minds in the business. Find him at zenmango.com. And now, here's your host, Arjun Sen.
Welcome to Secrets to Win Big. This is Arjun Sen. Today, it is my personal pleasure to host a conversation with Ramon Ray, CSP, who is a very successful entrepreneur, in-demand, motivational speaker, and an event host. Ramon is the founder of smarthustle.com and smartbusinesstechnology.com, and a regular contributor to entrepreneur.com, blackenterprise.com, and a host at Breakfast with Champions. Ramon authored 5 books, including Celebrity CEO. Ramon Ray, a CSP, is a small business expert who is in demand thought leader on personal branding as a tool for small business success. And that really hit me personally because for small businesses, is the business leader at the core who defines the business. And if that business leader does not understand the unique offering that he or she brings, and I really want to get to know that part of what Ramon does. Ramon inspires and educates thousands through his articles, podcasts, and in-demand media interviews. And I'm fortunate to be one of those thousands who have been inspired by Ramon. Ramon, welcome to Secrets to Win Big.
Hey, Arjun, thank you so much for having me, Arjun. And again, it was a pleasure for me to be with you a few times and be with you on stage and other times. So thank you for having me. And really, Arjun, thank you for seeing value that I can share with your community. And I enjoy going deeper than maybe normally I would go. So I'm excited to see where you take the conversation. Thank you, Arjun.
Absolutely. So let's just go right in. The thing that I have seen on stage, from the side of the stage, behind the stage, the word that defines you is enthusiasm, which is genuine. What is your vision every time you jump in to assist a small business owner with that kind of energy and enthusiasm? What is Ramon thinking? What does he want to achieve every time?
I love the question, Arjun. I think that everybody shows up differently, right? You have some people who may show up a bit quieter and their energy is quieter, softer, more introspective. You have others who may show up a bit more cautious and contemplative about life. And I can go on for, I'm not a psychologist, but a number of different ways that we all show up. But I think, and I want to hear your input on this, that what you're seeing in me, Arjun, is a genuine, how God has made me, a genuine enthusiasm. I have an excitement. I was in the airport at about 4 a.m. one day, and a lady was there with a cool bag or business card, something, Arjun, like that. I was just being me, Arjun. I said, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. And she said, sir, it's too early. I forgot. It was 4 a.m. in the morning, and most people are waking up. So I believe it's a genuine passion, excitement of interest in people, of also, Arjun, I think liking to learn. Inside it annoys me if I see somebody else that has an interesting vibe, and I want to know, what is that? Does that make sense, Arjun? Is that helpful?
Oh, absolutely. And the word that you really mentioned that hit home is the genuineness. Okay. Without that genuineness, at 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. in the morning, if there was that Ramon who was jumping up and down, instead of he inviting me, he would have alienated me. I would have moved to a different part of the airport by saying, I don't want to be close to this guy. But what I also liked was the other phrase you talked about was your excitement. Like, to me, as you're sharing, it reminds me of this curious kid with a big, genuine heart who really wants to appreciate everything. Where does this curiosity, that genuineness come from, Ram?
Yeah, and that's a good point. I was at the gas station a few days ago. Same thing happened. A lady was there. I kind of just looked at her and said, "Oh, two early birds." And she told me about her husband passing away and dying. It was almost in tears. I have that happen all the time. I think the curiosity comes. I think it's hard to be an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, Arjun. And again, notwithstanding those who are different, but one of the traits of entrepreneur is curiosity. You have a Marie Forleo. I have her book here on my shelf. Everything is figure outable, right? Everything is figure outable. Marie Forleo. You have Gary Vaynerchuk, others like this. They have this insatiable curiosity. Seth Godin, a friend of mine, they're asking, how does it work? How can I improve myself? This person looks interesting. So you're right, Arjun. I like that description of for children, it can be dangerous, right? They put their hand in the socket, eat rat poison, they do stupid things. But I think as you older and mature, you can keep the childlike nature with a bit more adultness wrapped around it, but never ever lose the desire to be curious about people and other things. And I think that's what you're seeing in me, that constant curiosity.
And I love this conversation because every time I'm asking, I'm getting a different layer to music Ramon. Okay. I started with genuine. Then I went into curious, not like a child, but it's childlike.
Yes, absolutely.
Balanced with maturity and sensitivity, because I was smiling when you were talking about the woman at the gas station.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment you talked about her situation, I saw a different Ramon evolve right there. Okay.
That's right. And we ended, by the way, with a laugh. She's talking about something sad, but so it is that blend, as you just said, is that blend of being able to embrace and cry with somebody or pat somebody on the back, and being able to put your head back and have a big laugh. So both are great. It just depends on what the context is.
Brilliant. And you started this conversation by saying every person shows up differently. And what I see is the Ramon way. If I pause this conversation right there, of course, I learn more. Sure. Ramon's way is through his genuineness, how he brings every person in, and together you guys finish the journey. And that is the secret of Ramon's unique energy.
I appreciate that, Arjun. I just want to mention one more person as well who does that. I think you know them, Crystal Washington, a colleague of ours, professional in the space, echoing what she does. She's modeled that for me, Arjun. I've been in places and rooms being the one who didn't know anybody. And she made the room smaller. But hey, friend, step over here, meet my friend Arjun. So I just wanted to echo that. I think is the mark of a good person there. You don't have to always, overdo it, but you're just sensitive to, Arjun standing by himself. Let me just see if he wants to step over and talk, but please continue. So
love that. So now from there, I want to go from this individual impact in a small group, I want to go to when you're talking in a mega group. And I asked some of our colleagues, how would you describe Ramon Ray?
Wow.
And everybody started with a smile on their face. Okay, that itself is an amazing thing. If people start by scratching their head or thinking or, let me make something up, that's the problem. Okay, that smile told me I have asked the right question. And some of the words and phrases I heard was, one of the best. I could listen to him over and over again. Good, contagious. And somebody who gets people inspired to speak. I just want audience members to listen and soak these in, because at the end, how your peers who are at par describe you, I really feel is one of the highest levels of honor that we have. So Ramon, this is all setting you up, okay? So as you as a speaker deliver on these consistently, what is the secret? What is Ramon looking at every time he is getting on stage and every time he leaves?
Thank you for those words, Arjun. Some days when you're sitting in your office, going to airports, you don't know the impact you make in people. So I just wake up And I just want to do a small thing that I can do to just make somebody happy, make them laugh, make the world a better place. Everybody has their way they do it. You have your way they do it, and everybody else. So I think my answer to your question, Arjun, is I want to make a difference. I want to make a difference. I don't want to die having left anything off the court, the proverbial American, basketball, football, cricket, take your guess. But I just want to make the world a better place, Arjun. And I think that everybody has a skill, everybody has a talent. It depends on how we use it. The comedian Anthony Anderson of Blackish, and this goes anywhere. It doesn't mean you have to be funny, because I don't see myself as a funny person per se. But he said, listen, my talent is comedy. This is what I do. I like jokes. And so he goes in that role. So my point being, Arjun, I just wake up. How can I make a difference? That's it. How can I make a difference?
And I have to push you. A lot of us wake up wanting to do things. What makes you carry through every day? And you're a human being like most of us.
Absolutely.
A bad day, there are tough days. But without excuses, Ramon delivers on the promise. What's the inspiration that makes you deliver every day on the promise you talk about? Small things to make the world better, to make a difference.
I think there's a few things, probably 3 or 4 things. One, I happen to be a Christian, and those who are not, no problem. The world's a great big place, but that's me. Since you asked, my faith is important to me. So I have a higher power of God, Jesus Christ, to rally me, give me some guidelines for me. 2, I know that I have my family looking at me. If I mess up, if I don't deliver, Arjun, I have a son, I have a daughter, I have a wife, I have a community that I might impact. I don't think about it daily, like when I wake up, but that goes through my mind. When you're alone, we're flying, we're in a hotel, we're at a bar, be careful what you do. And I do my best, Arjun, to be ever cognizant that there's power in words. There's power even in a touch, in a good way, And so I think that's part of that keeps me grounded. I also, Arjun, I don't take myself too seriously, man. I just don't. Meaning, I like to take my work seriously. And sometimes I can offend people because I realize, even though I don't take myself too seriously, like you're a speaker, Arjun, I've not read a speaker's full bio before on stage. Arjun, you kind of know me. I wasn't meaning harm. I was, in fact, trying to uplift them, but they were like, oh, you didn't say I was doctor. Oh, sorry. Because for me, it don't matter. But that's me. Is that helpful, Arjun?
Absolutely. And I just want to digress a little. 2 things that
Please.
resonate a lot. One is, I really feel you, me, each of us are publicly traded stocks with shareholders.
Ooh.
And just like the CEO of a company, you cannot just go left. You have to think about your shareholders. The same way for me, what I do at the end, I'm accountable to my board, my daughter and my wife, and they have 2/3 majority already. And I am toast if my board wants to hire me. And of course, they'll hire me. They're kind people.
Sure. Yes.
Also, I think, I love the way you brought faith in. And I just want to share something very personal. Every morning I wake up, I have a 4-step routine. I start with life today, health today. I want to take care of myself and plan, because without taking care of myself, it doesn't work.
Right.
Then to me, number 2 is faith and family today. I just realized, Arjun, being a goofball, it's the people who I'm grateful to is the great place to start. Is I don't know why they care and love me. No questions asked. I'm not shaking that. Jenga, let it be there. And I would send text messages to my wife at 4 a.m. She just wakes up and says, what happened? Like for me, it's like instead of cheating, she thinks I'm going to go and play golf that morning. That's the reason. Number 3 is life tomorrow. And then I get into life today. We are great at life today, but life tomorrow is the planning. But as you started with faith and family, it really resonated, because to me, I think that's at the core of who we are. We don't have to impose on others, but it's my building block and DNA, and being true to that, and really appreciate you sharing.
Thank you, Arjun. And I think you felt that, I'm very clear who I am, but listen, everybody has their own journey, their own path. You may like strawberry, like chocolate. I may not like pecans. You may like nuts. That's okay. We can all be beautiful humans. Thank you.
So now going to go into your past is an indicator of where you're going.
Mm.
In your journey thus far, and I put with the asterisk fine print, the best is yet to come. You've already started 5 businesses, sold 3. That
Yes,
shows
sir.
value. If somebody buys, that means there's value. Okay. So how does Ramon invent himself? And where is this amazing man be when I talk to him in a podcast in 2030? What would these new things I'll talk about be?
Wow. One of my mentors, Arjun, is Seth Godin. And he often talks about just launching, just doing it, understanding it may fail, not speaking words of self-doubt. People confuse that. Oh, Ramon, don't say that. No, it may fail, may not work. That's no problem. Elon Musk, proverbially, I think 3 or 4 rockets crashed before now SpaceX is moving on forward. So for me, Arjun, I think really the power of just not being afraid to fail. In fact, enjoying the journey of quote unquote failure.
Mm-hmm.
As Dave Ramsey says, though, I'm modifying some words he said, but the concept is there, not catastrophic failure. Mm-hmm. So I'm not mortgaging my home and playing games and having somebody come and take my life away. That's not responsible. Mm-hmm. But you know what? Maybe Arjun can risk $5,000, put on a credit card, owe some debt. Maybe Arjun can take that. Maybe me, it's 500. Somebody else, it could be, you know what? We can risk 75,000, or we can risk 6 months of not being with my small child. Whatever risk it may be for you. So I think that aspect of being willing to invent and try and test. So you asked me where I'll be in 2030. I think that's what you said, Arjun. I will be doing exactly what I'm doing today. I'm going to tell you what I wanted, exactly what I'm doing today. Probably a few different companies, a few different names, but all in the media space, books, content, blogs, video. And I'll probably be hosting a nationally syndicated show of some sort with a national brand. That's the only one other thing I want to do that I haven't done yet. Cheddar, Fox, CNN, Yahoo News, a bigger brand like that, reaching millions of people a day. That's the only other thing I want. Everything else, Arjun, I can do. I've been to India, been to Singapore, been to Australia, been to Jamaica, been on stage with the biggest of the biggest. For you and I, that's easy.
I like the way you make it easy. And I just want to reflect on 2 things you said.
Please.
Or 3. One is this whole concept of no self-doubt. Okay. And I wanted to follow up, but before I asked, you gave me the answer. That's the brilliance of Ramon, is he can read people's mind, is not being afraid of failure. Okay. Just across my desk right here is a poster by Michael Jordan. And those of you, if you have not seen that, if you search for Michael Jordan, Nike, and failure, you'll find this amazing ad in which Michael in his sleek black overcoat talking about, in my career, I have missed more than 9,000 shots. 26 times I was given the game-winning shot, I missed. I failed. And that's the reason I succeeded. You know, what I realized was, when the game is coming to an end, Arjun doesn't want to take the shot. Michael has more game-winning shots missed because he has taken more game-winning shots. Okay. But now what I really liked, also the second part, was balancing it with not being reckless. And
yes,
one of the top quarterbacks of all time told me, Arjun, keep yourself always in the game. Take a
never
risk.
leave it.
Never throw that ball knowing this interception is going to end the game. Okay. And when I talked to him, pushed him more on failure, he also said, and it would be good, and he's very spiritual, he said, if I just ask God for one thing, can I please win the last game of my career? And that's it. And that was a very humble, simple human request, that knowing that that's the last game, he told me that game he'll be in a lot of pressure to finish. Because of no other reason, personally, he'll reflect back on it. But I really love that concept of being in the game, as you talked about, and the balance of risk. And each person's risk is different, which is very important to be aware and know. That's huge. So, Ramon, as we talked about you, I want to move away from you to look at, for Ramon being who he is. There have been a lot of inspirations. I'm not asking you to choose one. Just think of one person who has inspired you. There are others, we of course know. But what about that person that really has helped you grow and be inspired?
There's a few people, Arjun, and I don't even have to think hard about it. I worked at the United Nations for a number of years, Arjun, before I was fired, before my contract wasn't renewed. But I like to say fired. It sounds cooler. And the office I worked in was a decent office, decent people, but it had a lot of issues. But there was one gentleman there. Again, you can say I cry very easily, Arjun.
Mm-hmm.
His name was Mr. Chidambaranathan. Didn't have a first name. He taught me all about that. I'm sure you understand some of those things. Hindu gentleman. Arjun, I love it. He passed away years ago, but I love that man. He was like a paternal father to me. He is the one who would tell me, Ramon, you're too angry right now. Don't write that email. Wait till tomorrow. He just taught me about life. You know, he was 70 something at the time, you know, older, much older gentleman. But I just learned. I would sit in his office, just ask him questions. He would say things to me, Ramon, note taking is so important. And I would just observe him. So I'll pause there because I could go long. You can feel, I hope, the love and affection. But that's one. Mr. Chidambaranathan was Mr. Nathan, we'd call him, a man who I will always cherish. Another one is a pastor of mine, Pastor Carland. His fire, his energy. He's older, he's infirm sometimes, but his energy when he's in church and etc., it's infectious, Arjun. It's just like lightning throughout the place. So I'll stop there. And I've already mentioned Seth Godin, of course, who I've followed for years, read his books, looked at his PowerPoint. Ooh, how can I? Oh, wow, I can do a PowerPoint like that. I can speak like that one day. So those are just three probably of a few people that I can say who've meant something to me, Arjun.
Wow. Oh, I just got a phone call. Sorry. Okay. Somebody just doing a podcast talked about Ramon Ray being his inspiration. I just wanted to put that in. So I just want to get on a lighter side first. One time, a colleague of mine got fired. I was there to cheer him, and I left with insights. He put firing in a beautiful perspective. He said, life is consensual. This company chose to fly solo without me. What a beautiful phrase. Like, I just love that because life is about choices, okay? You and I can choose. Like, we are, let's say, 5-year-olds playing. Like, you don't like me. You don't have to play with me. Life is about choices. The other person exerted his choice, which has nothing to do about me or my weak side. And on the email side, I also have to bring in, there's a gentleman called Rubinstein. He taught me this amazing concept of email. He said, Arjun, the world does not need another email from you. So before you send any email, if you don't check these 4 boxes, do not send it. So I'm going to send an email right now to Ramon. Ramon has to feel, only Arjun, send this to only Ramon, only today, about a topic only Ramon needs to know. Beautiful. And now I have so many emails in my draft because that stupid Mr. Rubinstein ruined my life in a good way. So many times we just push the thing on you, Ramon. You don't need to know. You don't. And the onus is on me to control your inbox, not you to go through. So Ramon, I'm changing the gear totally.
Please.
So now this is a very fun question. Ramon today gets an Evite. And in that Evite, Ramon today will be meeting a 16-year-old Ramon and a 90-year-old Ramon. You have been chosen to decide where that meeting will happen. And now fast forward at the end of the dinner or whatever you guys choose to do, you call me to tell me what that conversation was like between you today, 16-year-old Ramon and 90-year-old Ramon.
Wow. For a 16-year-old, by the way, we're in one of 2 places, Atlanta, having fried chicken with scallops and grits with some amazing gravy and cornbread, or we're somewhere in India having biryani with chicken tikka masala, pickle, and naan. One of the 2 places we're having our meal in. And for 16-year-old Ramon, I'm probably begging Ramon to listen to three things. One, forgive quickly. Forgive, forgive, forgive. Don't hold things in. It's just, I can go on. You already know all these things, Arjun, but forgive is the one point. Number two, value relationships, network, connect with people, serve, just suck in learning. And probably three, one thing I didn't learn until older is invest your money. I'm not talking about how Bitcoin or whatever, not that, but just put a bit of your money aside, kind of what Mike Michalowicz talks about in Profit First, put your money aside and save it. So that's what I would do. The 16-year-old Ramon, should I pause or should I jump to 90?
Go to 90.
Okay. For 90-year-old Ramon, wow. Arjun, that's tough. I'd probably ask 90-year-old Ramon a lot of questions. But I think the one question, if Ramon's 90, I would ask him, are you happy? And is there anything that you majorly regret? I say majorly because we all do something stupid. I yelled too much, whatever, it's stupid things. But overall, are you happy, Ramon, at 90? Did you live the life and do that you wanted? That's probably what I would only do with Ramon. I would just ask that one question. Are you happy?
I love that. I just have to add one question, which is very easy to say, but very difficult to do. We're all human beings. When we cut, when we fall down, the bruise stays for a long time. What's your secret to forgive quickly?
Wow. One, acknowledge it's not easy at all. And I had some time with Deepak Chopra a few months ago, by the way, and he echoed this same sentiment. But I believe I've known this. I'm almost 51 years old, Arjun, a grown man, spiritual, all these things. But I learned it from my wife. She underlined it recently. Married man, you argue about this. Most of it, at least for my relationship, is what I call stupid stuff. Or I wouldn't be married for 30 years if it was major, but just silly things. But she told me, Ramon, I choose to forgive you. I choose. And so even though she only told me that recently, Arjun, that stuck with me. And I think it highlighted things that I knew of in my head. But this power that she said, I choose, is what we've decided. The only way we're going to stay married, the only way, Arjun, is with both of us every day, choose to forgive. We're going to fight, argue. Okay, we've done this now for 2 hours. I'm angry because you had the remote. You're angry because I didn't have the batteries. Okay, now what are we going to do? Are we going to let this stay and build up? No. Kiss, make up. I choose to forgive. It's time to move on. It's a choice.
It's a choice. So, Ramon, this has been an amazing conversation. You have been very kind and generous with your time, and you've answered every question. It's only fair if you have any one question, I can try my best to answer it.
I have a question. I have, if you don't mind, a compliment, Arjun, please. So I'm not going to ask if you mind. I'm just going to do it. You're an amazing, heartfelt interview, Arjun. I do a lot of interviews, a lot of podcasts, and it's easy to do those things, of course, about the transactional side of life. How do you do funnels? What's personal branding? How do you do marketing? Those things are important. Where's AI going? Those are important, and many small businesses love them. But I really love your style of interview, Arjun, where we can get into the heart of somebody, and that you are introspective with me. So I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. And I think my question would be to ask, why do you interview in that style? I think I would ask that. I don't know if all your interviews are like that, or that was something special for me, but can you talk more about just your style of going a little quite below the surface? You could have started out, well, what's the color of websites to be? But you get into the human. Talk about that, if you don't mind. I would be curious.
When I started the podcast, I realized there are different kinds of podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I wanted to do the podcast because I get excited about talking. I get excited about listening. So the first thing I did, being a marketing guy, I created a logo which has half my face to remind me every time before a podcast that I'm only half the podcast. So I start with every podcast by saying, who is the other person who will compliment me? Okay. Life is about opportunities, but opportunities, if you don't seize, they come and they go. Opportunity does not open yourself up. So to me, I have been excited about this podcast. We had to reschedule a few times.
Yes.
But every time I have looked at, I say, you know what? Instead of being disappointed, by the time I get to talk to Ramon, it'll be a smarter, wiser, even cooler Ramon that is there. And I have been more.
Wow.
And to me, I think just like you talked about enthusiasm and curiosity, I want to know even one thing, Ramon, if Ramon tells me something deep inside that he has not shared with anybody, it's all about me. I feel special. And I just will go to my shareholders and report back by saying, I had a cool conversation with Ramon. I have to feel good. And this is another thing I realized is, if you and I at NSA are having a conversation, the conversation is two parts. One, we have to enjoy it. And secondly, conversation is so good. Let's say somebody else comes and says, hey, can I join? I'm like, of course. And that's the part where our conversation today, anybody who sees will know that these two goofy guys had a blast.
Yes.
I really hope and pray at least there's one other person who would like to pull a chair and say, I want to listen to this conversation.
Yes.
So thank you for the question. I really appreciate it. I wish you very best.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to the next time, at least I interview in 2030, maybe before. So thank you again.
Thank you, Arjun.
You've been listening to Secrets to Win Big with Arjun Sen, founder and CEO of Zen Mango, top brand growth driver, and a former Fortune 500 executive who has been called one of the most marketing intelligent minds in the business. To learn more, visit www.zenmango.com. Share this podcast with your friends and subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts.